Cluck was a wiry fellow with a face like a bewildered owl and limbs that seemed to defy the basic principles of human anatomy. He was the world's only catatonic contortionist, a niche so specific it was practically a cult. His act, Cluk's pretzel extravaganza, had him folded into shapes that made audiences gasp, giggle, and occasionally gag. Picture a man stuffed into a suitcase, legs behind his head, arms knotted like a sailor's rope, all while staring blankly into the void like he was contemplating the meaning of life. That was Cluk. Born in the sleepy town of Wattleborough, Cluk discovered his peculiar talent at age 10 when he fell asleep in a laundry basket and woke up with his foot in his mouth, literally. His parents, mistaking this for a cry for attention, enrolled him in gymnastics. But Cluk's catatonic episodes, where he'd freeze mid-motion like a glitchy robot, made traditional sports impossible. One day, during a particularly long stare into nothingness, he accidentally twisted himself into a human pretzel. The crowd at the local fair lost their minds, and Cluk's career was born. By 35, Cluk was a traveling oddity, schlepping his act across the globe in a beat-up van plastered with stickers reading, "Bend it like Cluk." His manager, a shifty guy named Sal with a mustache that screamed used car salesman, booked him in every dive bar, county fair, and sketchy circus from Topeka to Timbuktu. Cluk's performances were a riot. He'd shuffle on stage, eyes glazed, and collapse into a folding chair. Then, with the grace of a sloth on sedatives, he'd contort into shapes no spine should allow. A human Mobius strip, a living origami crane, or his fan favorite, the sentient bread knot. The audience would howl as Sal narrated in a voice like a carnival barker, "Behold, Cluk, the man who defies bones and sanity." But Cluk's catatonia wasn't just a gimmick, it was a lifestyle. He'd zone out mid-conversation, mid-meal, or once mid-shower, leaving Sal to hose him down like a confused statue. This made life on the road interesting. In Boise, Cluk froze in a human pretzel pose during a show, and Sal, panicking, sold him as modern art to a hipster gallery for $500. Cluk woke up 3 hours later, surrounded by pretentious types sipping kombucha and debating his existential commentary. He just blinked and asked for a hot dog. Their latest gig was the Flapjack Festival in Pancake Flats, a town obsessed with breakfast. Cluk was to perform his grand finale, the human waffle iron, where he'd fold himself into a grid pattern while Sal poured fake syrup over him. The crowd was already losing it, kids chucking pancakes, grannies waving spatulas, when Cluk hit his catatonic state mid-twist. His body locked, one leg over his shoulder, the other tucked under his chin, looking like a yoga pose designed by a madman. Sal, ever the opportunist, shouted, "Folks, he's channeling the spirit of breakfast," and started tossing glitter, claiming it was maple magic. The crowd ate it up, but disaster struck when a rogue toddler lobbed a real waffle iron onto the stage. It clunked Cluk square in the forehead. Instead of waking, Cluk's catatonia deepened, and he toppled into the audience, still folded like a lawn chair. Pandemonium ensued. People screamed, thinking it was part of the act, while Sal tried to drag Cluk back by his one free ankle, yelling, "He's fine. He's just method." A local farmer, mistaking Cluk for a scarecrow, offered to buy him for $20. Sal, sensing an opportunity, negotiated for $50 and a crate of eggs. But Cluk snapped awake mid-transaction, untangled himself in a fluid, horrifying motion, and sprinted off stage, shouting, "I ain't no farm decor!" The crowd roared, thinking it was the best finale yet. Sal, sweating, chased after him, waving the eggs like a peace offering. Back in the van, Cluk munched a stolen pancake, staring into the distance. "Sal," he mumbled, "I think I'm retiring." Sal, still clutching the eggs, gasped. "Retire? You're a legend. The world needs your bendy weirdness." Cluk just shrugged, folding himself into the passenger seat like a human accordion. "Maybe I'll open a pretzel shop, less glitter, more dough." And so, Cluk rolled into the sunset, dreaming of a life less twisted. But knowing him, he'd probably fall asleep in the dough mixer and start a new act by accident.